Yeah.
I'm happy to be back in the group again and to have some structure again in my life. It's been strangely quiet in some ways over the last month with things winding down before Christmas and not having wound back up again in the new year. So I'm happy to have this meeting to meet people and to have structure again.
You're happy to be here, partially because of the structure coming back into your life. It's been awfully quiet and unstructured, and starting before Christmas, and still hasn't quite picked up the new rhythm.
Right. And when I hear you say that, I'm using the words awfully quiet, it's reminding me that I want more challenge in my life. Not too much, mind you, and that there's plenty of it in the Defining Empathy project.
So you want this Goldilocks challenge of enough, and you see enough of that in this particular project.
Right, yeah. I'd been meeting before Christmas with Cara and Edwin. We met maybe for 3 times after the group meetings wound down, and I found those helpful to be able to talk about self-empathy, which is the piece I'm looking at.
So part of your thoughts are about the self-empathy portion that you're working on, and you had these 3 meetings with Cara and Edwin after we all stopped meeting regularly, and they've been very helpful.
Mm-hmm. I have been. Most recently, I've watched the interview that Edwin gave with Stephanie Neumann, I think her name is, on empathy. That's with an I, which is a new construct, a new term for self-empathy.
And recently you watched an interview that Edwin gave to somebody named Stephanie about empathy with a Y, which is kind of a newer name for self-empathy. I'm not sure I got that
right.
Okay.
Yes, empathy with an I, as in first person. So it's for the first version empathy, I guess, or introversive empathy. I think she also refers to it as. And she has published a series of papers as part of her PhD, and I looked at the papers, but there's well over 100 pages. It was more digestible in interview format.
So she's written some papers as part of her PhD on the topic, but the papers were pretty long, and you found it more digestible in this interview format.
So maybe I can give my thoughts on the interview another time, but not today. I'm only planning on staying maybe a half hour or so, just because of how I'm feeling. But that's one thing that I've been looking at, and I've also been looking at, based on Edwin's suggestion that Jengelin's focusing, that may be a practice that could be included in the self-empathy piece, and that's something I'm exploring.
So you're just planning to stay with us for another half hour, but at one point you will talk more about this interview, and you're also exploring Jengelin's focusing practices, which Edwin suggested might be included in the self-empathy piece.
Yes, I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Cara, would you be my listener?
Listening.
Okay. Okay. Now I see how it's empathy. No, I see. Sorry. I'm just getting distracted by the chat. I tried to work on the imaginative empathy and try to make the slides a little more attractive and less boring. After I remember DJs and Crystal's presentations were just beautiful and engaging, and I wanted to have less death of a PowerPoint. And I worked and worked and finally figured out that I can't um, use those slides at all because in a program that I can transfer to any other format. So it was very frustrating. But um, I've had some thoughts about imaginative empathy, nothing groundbreaking, mostly just thinking about simplifying. So I'll stop here.
So I heard that you got distracted by the chat, and then that you worked on your slides for the imaginative empathy, and you wanted to make them more exciting, more beautiful and engaging. And you worked really hard for a really long time until you realized that that was not worth it because you can't transfer that to anything else. So lots of work and nothing to show. And so you had lots and lots of thoughts on the imaginative empathy, nothing groundbreaking, but you really have spent a lot of time working.
Beautiful. Yes, exactly. Trying to expand myself into more fields that have never been my strong suit, which is graphic design and this kind of presentations. But Edwin's assignment for me was to make imaginative empathy the sexy piece of the training. So I'm trying, but really nothing further than that. I've thought more about this overall process, and I think I'm coming back refreshed and ready to work on this second round of the project, of the definition project.
So you have really worked to expand yourself into this role, which is outside of your normal zone where you're working with graphic design and turning a presentation into a sexy piece of training. Overall, though, you think you're really back into the overall process and you're really excited to come back and be refreshed and start looking at the definitions.
Wonderful. Thank you. I feel fully heard. Also, I don't see the clock. Maybe it's on my end. But
no, I'm not sure how to share it. So
it was shared.
Yeah, I could see it.
Oh, I just stopped it because you.
Okay.
I thought you stopped.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Thank you. Feel fully heard.
DJ, will you be my listener or my reflector?
I will.
All right. What is alive for me right now? I'm a little distracted because my parents just came over. My sister's visiting from California, so everybody is currently upstairs laughing and giggling, and I don't know what's going on, and it's driving me nuts.
So you're a little distracted because your parents are upstairs giggling and laughing with your sister who's visiting California. You don't know what's going on.
I don't know. But I'm really excited that we're back in and doing this. The time that I got to spend with Edwin and Colin working on Colin's piece was, just really fun. And I love what you guys come up with. I think that I haven't taken on any pieces myself, so I'm just really glad that you keep letting me show up.
You haven't taken on any pieces yourself, but you've really enjoyed, you've had a really good time with Colin and Edwin, and you're really glad to be back here because it's really fun.
Yeah, I think this is important work. I think that it is hard work that requires lots and lots of regurgitation and reflection and then doing it again. But I think it's important stuff that allows clean communication across the culture that's trying to be created here.
So it's important work that we're doing here. It requires clean communication. It can be hard. And you regurgitate it, I believe, and then oh gosh, it's important. You regurgitate it, and you must do something with it then after you regurgitate it, right? I forgot what you said.
Okay. It's really just the fact that we have to, because it's so important and communication is so hard. I mean, from your first word to your last, what we're doing here, the fact that we are diving deep into it and creating something and then recreating that same thing and then discussing it and picking it apart so we can recreate the same thing, sort of a regurgitate, reflect, regurgitate, reflect, regurgitate, reflect. Yeah, I think that this really, what is coming out of this is a really clean and beautiful system.
Okay, so the word I couldn't remember was reflect. It's a beautiful word. I love that word. Thank you. Okay, so it's important, and we regurgitate it. Then we reflect upon it. And then you elaborated that we take a deep dive into these really important topics. And I think what you're saying is that because we're defining something, we have to keep kind of regurgitating and reflecting and working with it, because we're defining something and then we're redefining it for the course, something like that.
Yes. I think I feel fully heard. I don't know that I have anything else. Thank you.
Thank you. Lou, will you be my listener?
Yes, happy to.
Okay, so yeah, I really agree with Cara that this is a deep dive. And I think that I really needed to take a break and step back from it, because I went so deep. And it was really beautiful and wonderful. But sometimes I think you have to take a step back in order to see the big picture.
Yeah, so you're saying that you agree with Kara that the work on this empathy course really kind of went very deep, and you think it's really, and that felt good to you, and that it was also important for you to take a step back, and you think that when you're working on stuff that's really deep, that's an important practice, is to take a step back from it.
Yes, and one of the things I love about this defining empathy course, Empathy Circle, the exact title I'm not sure of, is that I really feel like I'm bonding with the people here. You know, that I really enjoyed my time with you, Lou, when you and I met as buddies, I believe. I just loved meeting you and getting to know you.
So you're saying that I'm having trouble reflecting, taking that appreciation in. So yeah, you're saying that another aspect of the work on this course that you've really enjoyed is getting to know the people here and bonding with them, feeling like you really gotten to know people. And then especially with me, the time that we spent together, that felt really, really good to you. You really appreciate that.
Yes, you're very multifaceted, Lou. And I do believe that we're all multifaceted, you know, like every individual. I think Violetta's kind of, you know, alluded to that perhaps in the past in our discussions about how every human being is absolutely as deep as the next human being. And we have an opportunity here to explore our depth together in this idea of relational empathy.
Yeah, so you're saying that one of the things that you got from our time together was just how, learning more about me and how multifaceted I am, and that you really think that's true of everybody, that we're all very deep and multifaceted, and that richness is you love that. And you love that this process is a opportunity to learn that about each other and explore that with each other.
Right. And so since my specific topic is relational empathy, I'm really seeing our process here together as part of my research into relational empathy.
Yeah, and relational empathy is your thing, and that's what you're focusing on in this, and you really see what we are doing here, the process that we're doing as relational empathy. And so it's that's very satisfying, and it's also sounds like it's contributing to your understanding and how you want that part of the course to what you want it to contain.
Exactly. And so I'm thinking that this next module, I'm going to be focusing on the sort of co-construction of relational empathy.
Yeah, and so it's really made you think that in the next version of our work on this, what you're going to be focusing on is the co-construction aspect of relational empathy.
Is for the defining empathy course that's going to have a course, right? So the ultimate course would actually be co-construction.
Yeah, so you're thinking that the course that comes out of this, the defining empathy course, that it would actually have a co-construction structure.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Lou. I feel fully heard. Kind of went over there a little bit in time, I think.
Okay, Edwin, I'll go to you.
Listening.
Well, first, I'm still kind of full of a little bit of embarrassment and appreciation with the things that DJ said about me. I enjoyed our time together, and what you said was very sweet. I feel very seen by that. Thank you.
You're still recovering from the praise that DJ gave you, sort of recovering from that, and just feel like you really appreciated it and appreciated the time you spent with her.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and I'm kind of interested and excited to present the work that I wound up doing on blocks. What happened in blocks before was that Crystal and I met a bunch of times. We had kind of some different views on it, and we talked about those things. And then when it came time to present, I could not be there that week. And so she basically presented her thoughts about it. And I, after that, I spent some time developing my own thoughts about the blocks part. And I was really happy actually with what I put together, but I never had a chance to talk about it. So I look forward to doing that.
Okay, you and Crystal had talked about the blocks, and you each had different sort of views on it, and you weren't able to attend the meeting, the presentation. So Crystal presented her views on the blocks, and you've been working on yours, and you're looking forward to sharing your views.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. I actually have to revisit it to say how much I think they're aligned or different, but they weren't. It wasn't like we were in big conflict. I think in the end we were pretty much aligned, I think. But it's also a long time ago now, so it's hard to remember.
Yeah, you think you were kind of getting aligned, but it's been a while now, so it's hard to recall exactly.
Yeah, and what's interesting to me about that topic, I mean, what I discovered in the exploration that I was doing was that initially I was thinking of blocks as just, things that other people do in the circle, the kind that are blocks to empathy, or actually it was defined as ways in which the reflector might respond that's not empathic, and we call it a block to empathy. But yeah, and actually, and I don't like the term block, because to me it suggests that the person's actually actively doing something, like they're trying to block you. It assigns an intention, and I don't think there's an intention to that. I think it's just dysfunction. I'll stop there.
So I think you're saying that initially you thought of blocks as something that someone does in the empathy circle as a listener. And I think you're saying that it's also maybe expanding it to internal blocks, but then the term blocks too, you're seeing that as maybe not a good word for it, because it's I can't remember quite why, but it's maybe there's a better term for it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like the term block because I think it assigns intention, that someone's trying to block you, and I don't think that intention is necessarily there. I think it's just not skillful reflection. And then the other piece is what you said, which I didn't say, but I was going to say, which is that my idea of blocks expanded, or the teaching about it is to internal blocks. What internal blocks do I have to being an empathic presence? So I think that's another aspect of it that's interesting.
So it's the blocks is more about, it seems to say that there's an intention, sort of a negative intention, and you think it's not so much an intention as just lack of skill or something like that. And then I had mentioned the self blocks, and then you hadn't mentioned it, but then you kind of built on that. Yeah.
Yes. And I think, is my time up?
Yeah, that was the time.
Okay. All right. Thanks. I feel heard.
Okay. Violetta?
Yes.
Yeah, so I've got a lot going on with this retreat center that my brother, bought, and he's just asked me to kind of do more work on it. I was sort of doing some part-time. He said, "Hey, I need kind of more, almost like full-time, I guess, kind of work on it." So I kind of dealing with that right now.
You've been very busy, almost to a full-time level, with the retreat center that your brother bought, that you mentioned about. So that's where you've been mostly recently.
Yeah, it's been sort of part-time, but he's asked me to do almost like
Oh.
full-time. So it's like kind of up the level of involvement with it.
So you're kind of at a crossroad of committing almost at a full-time level after you've been pretty busy with it part-time, and it's kind of changed probably a lot in your life and your daily rhythms.
Yeah, and if there's still a lot of negotiation going on, like I'm wanting to bring sort of the empathy center to the retreat center to make it kind of a core part of it, and how exactly that would work. Will the whole center be sort of based on empathy, and all the workshops kind of fit within that overall message? Or is it just part of it? So anyway, there's still sort of like discussions and trying to get clarity, kind of feel our way into, see what kind of works.
There's still kind of this negotiation going on. What will be the role of the empathy center in this retreat center? Is it the core, and most of the workshops would be related to it in one way or another, or will be just one of the pieces? So this is still kind of ongoing, and I can tell how you feel about it.
Yeah, I'm like, let's make it the center, and I'm advocating
Sure.
for it. It's like I'm pushing it, yeah, really. And we're doing empathy circles, visioning empathy circles with the community. So I already held one. We have one next week, and so we're doing it with the Santa Barbara community, bringing them in to these visioning circles.
That's exciting. You're doing these circles, visioning empathy circles with the community. What would it be from their point of view? What could be created? What are the needs? What are some thoughts?
Yeah, so I think the defining empathy is really important, but I'm not sure how much time I have to focus at this point in time on the defining empathy part of it. So I'm trying to kind of determine, what to do next, I guess, in terms of that.
So that your involvement is so strong with the retreat center changes directly our project here, and how much of your time and effort you could invest in the Defining Empathy project.
So one idea I had is maybe next week we could do a another empathy circle on empathy as a way of being. What does that mean? That's a bit more of a phenomenological approach. Is you're just sort of opening that up. What does that mean? And do it once or twice. And then I'm even thinking perhaps we could use this time slot, set the definitions aside for a time, or somebody else could take it over, I guess, and use the time for the community to talk about the retreat center, sort of a visioning for the empathy community. So I'm just kind of throwing those ideas around. That's my time.
So your thoughts at the moment are to kind of set the definitions aside and use this space and time to explore what the empathy community thinks about empathy as a way of being, and kind of phenomenologically open that conversation. But also, what does the empathy community think of the retreat center?
Oh, just to be clear, just maybe
Yeah.
do one session
Okay.
on the what is it
Mhm.
a way of being mean to everyone, because
Okay.
that's sort of ground, because that's kind of the core of what we're doing. And then following would be visioning of the empathy center of the center, which I'm trying to call the empathy center. So he wants to call it Valinor, but yeah, anyway.
You're naming things there, the empathy center. So your thoughts are that next week we could kind of, instead of kind of going through the presentation and continue with the project, to spend it defining way of being, empathy is a way of being, and then use the following weeks that are planned for visioning of the empathy center.
Yeah, I feel heard.
Okay. Thank you. Colin, want to make sure you have one more chance. And
Yes,
would you
that would be
my
good.
listener? Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'm still kind of reeling from the conversation with Edwin and trying to process what just happened. And I don't know. I haven't processed it yet, and I'm not sure what to think. But
Mhm.
I'm
So
obviously
you're just
excited.
okay. So I'm hearing that you're still processing what everyone has just shared with us. You're reading from all of this new information, and one of the emotions that's coming up for you is excitement.
Excitement about the empathy center and this kind of brick and mortar expression of this big culture of empathy experience.
Mm. And transforming this culture of empathy into something tangible, into bricks and mortar.
Mm-hmm. But also part of me is sad about this project, and I'm a planner, so I had planned a product and a process, but yeah, so these different experiences of a little bit of grief and confusion, but also excitement and hopefulness.
Mm. So there's a lot of feelings going on there that are coming up for you in reaction to what everyone has just said, and not just the excitement, but there's also some sadness, and there's also some grief, but also the excitement, as you said, and maybe you said hope. I'm not quite sure, but you also said that you're a planner, and so that's you're
Right.
processing all of this new information that's affecting plans.
Yeah, it sends me to this idea of flexibility that we all had to practice big time throughout the pandemic, and yeah, it taught me a lot of lessons that I think I'm still kind of incorporating, of how to be more flexible.
Mm-hmm. And you're seeing one skill that might be helpful for you at this time, and that would be flexibility, and that's something that came up for you during the pandemic.
Yeah, thank you. Feel fully heard.
Lou, can you be my active listener?
Love
Thank
to.
you.
Love to.
So you can see a smile on my face because yeah, I always get excited when you talk about this retreat center. You shared it with Edwin had shared it with myself and Cara before Christmas, and it is super exciting, but it also sounds like it's a lot of work.
Yeah, so the the idea of the retreat center is very exciting to you, and it makes you very happy to think about it. But you also think it's a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of work to create it.
Right. I don't know. It gives me the impression of one who doesn't shy away from work, and who has made himself very available to me, on Tuesdays for the call with Cara, and has made it clear how passionate he is about talking about empathy. So when he tells me that this project might be so big that it gets in the way of other empathy projects, then I respect that. I think that there's something there.
Yeah, so your experience of Edwin is that he's a person that doesn't shy away from work. He's a very hard worker, and so when he says that he thinks that the work on this center, creating the center, might take him away from other pieces of the empathy work, you think that that's probably a sound assessment.
So I'm still processing this also. I guess I'm also requesting of our team to be understanding of my time away in Nepal. And so if I'm expecting flexibility from the team for that, then I think I should also be willing to show flexibility to others.
Yeah, and so you're having a lot of different feelings about the news that Edwin is giving, and you're still in the processing that. You don't have total clarity about what you feel or think about it, and it also brings up for you the kind of request you're making of the group to be flexible about your participation because of your trip to Nepal and the stuff you'll be doing there. And so, you also want to be flexible with changes that are happening.
Mm-hmm. And then maybe just to conclude, I mean, there is part of me that wants to make a contribution, on a project, so that there's some output, which I've owned and that I've contributed to, and this defining empathy project is giving me that. I have, and I'm just wondering that if there'll also be that same possibility when it comes to the visioning of the empathy center, and what's the contribution that I'm really going to be able to make? Is that yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, so you're saying that you have a strong desire to make a concrete contribution that's kind of visible and is and that contains the work that you've put in, and you're really hoping for that with the empathy course that we've been working on. And when you think about what Edwin's proposing about using these sessions to do visioning for the center, you're wondering about what your contribution there really will be, and whether there'll be something concrete that comes out of it, because you have a strong desire to make a concrete contribution.
Yes, Edwin. Sorry, Lou. Concrete contribution. Yes, that's it. I feel fully heard.
Okay. I'll go to Kara.
Listening.
So what's strong in me right now is just some appreciation for Colin. I don't think I've been in a session with you where I've seen you express such strong feelings, and I feel like I know you a lot better now, having listened to this last piece of yours. So I just appreciate you sharing what's true for you.
So I heard that you have what was alive for you right then was appreciation for Colin. You don't know that you've ever seen him share so deeply, and you feel like you know him better now because he opened up like that, and you're really appreciative of it.
Yeah. And I relate to your feelings of the work that you put in on this project and wanting something concrete to come out of it. And I resonate with what Violetta said too. Because I have put effort in too, and when I put effort in on something, it's nice to see something come out of it. So something concrete. So I think that's a desire I have too.
And that you resonate with what Colin and Violetta said, that after, when you put work into something, you really do want to know that something concrete is going to come out of it. So that resonated with you.
Yeah. And at the same time, hearing that reflected back to me, I'm also aware that, creativity is a process, and it does take time to create things. Often there are multiple iterations of something before something actually takes form. And I'm also appreciative of all of the learning, actually the getting to know everyone here, making the connections, and the learning that has happened for me as a result of this. So that's a benefit, or something that I'm really appreciating out of this process, even if the creation of a concrete empathy course is postponed.
I heard that when you heard it reflected back, it made you aware that creativity itself is a process and with multiple iterations. Um, and that one of the things that you're really grateful or appreciative of, that one of the benefits from doing this process has been learning all of the different aspects and getting to know all of the people who are here.
Yeah, that's very valuable to me. Is my time up, Edwin?
I stopped taking time, so it's kind of
Okay.
like go for as long as you feel comfortable.
That's dangerous for me. Okay, so let me just think if there's more that I want to say that's important right now. So I'll just say that in terms of turning this time slot into a visioning session for the empathy community, I don't know how much I'll participate in that because I'm doing other visioning stuff. So I might do some. And I would like an opportunity to present the work that I did on blocks and get feedback from this group. Mostly I'm interested in hearing people's feedback about it. That's why I would like to be able to say sometime. I'll stop there.
That if this time slot becomes a space for the visionary space for the community, that you will participate, maybe, but that you really are looking forward to presenting what you have because you're just really want to hear everybody's feedback.
Yes, and just to clarify, how much I would participate in the visioning circles on Friday morning would have to do with, I'm doing other visioning circles with Edwin and the Santa Barbara community, and I'm not sure how much time additional time I want to spend on that topic. So that's my reason for that I might not be here every Friday.
So I heard with all of the visioning work that you're already doing, adding an additional 2 hours of visionary work, you don't know how open or available you would be to that. You will support it, but you might not physically be here because you're doing all of these other ones.
Right. Thank you. I feel heard.
Who is not gone? I ran out of that. I went to the bathroom again, guys. Sorry.
I think DJ or Edwin would have
DJ.
not gone this round.
I'll go around again with DJ. Hi, DJ. Okay, so I missed the end of what Edwin said because I had to run out to the bathroom, but I think hearing from Colin and Lou that I kind of caught up to what all was being gone on there. And the first thing that came to my mind is what help is needed.
So you kind of missed some of what Edwin was saying. You were, checking up on whatever, and you weren't there. But you caught up on some of it from Colin and Lou, and you're thinking that you might understand. And you're thinking maybe the big question is what kind of help is needed?
Yeah, because I think that this project is incredibly important. I don't think anybody here disagrees with that. I think that the project for the property is incredibly important, and I don't think anybody here disagrees with that. I think getting the community involved and trying to use this process, this culture to create a community is incredibly important, kind of the reason we're all doing this. So I want to know how we can help facilitate making sure they all happen.
Okay, so there are kind of maybe three things going on, at least two. So we have this really important defining empathy for empathy course. That's really important. And then we have this defining the empathy center or empathy for the retreat, which is a physical place. And then we have this sort of other idea, I guess, about being an empathy community ourselves and maybe gaining from that experience, which of course is super important too. So all of these things are important.
Yeah. And in the process of creating a culture of empathy, which is kind of the end goal, right? Stopping something to make room for something is not necessarily a bad thing, but is that how it has to happen? Is what I'm wondering.
So creating a culture of empathy is the ultimate goal and is very important. And we all agree on that. But stopping something in order to start something else, is that really necessary?
And sometimes it is. I don't have all of the answers. I just ask the questions. That's literally what I do all day, every day. But that was the first thing that came into my mind when I came back was, okay, but what is actually needed so all of the things can happen?
So sometimes it is necessary to stop one thing and begin another, and other times it's not. And I hear you kind of just asking questions to try to see, what really is the most important thing that's needed here.
And I don't have answers, just more questions. Offers, I guess I could go with an offer. I'm pretty good at project management, probably more so as far as building and construction stuff than necessarily running an empathy like this thing. Only because my experience goes that direction working with people. But working with people in project management is working with people in project management. So if there's a space that I can help fill a gap, I'm in.
So you're making an offer that you have skills as a project manager and your experience is more in the concrete projects, but working with people is something like what's going on here is project management as well. And you're up for it and you're making that offer to Edwin and the group.
I think that's all I have. I think I am fully heard.
Thank you, Cara. Yeah, I'm excited. I love new things.
Who are you speaking to?
You, Edwin.
Okay, listening. You're excited because you like new things.
I do. I like new things. I do. I think change is my middle name. I'm flexible by nature. I'm mutable by nature. I'm fluid. I like to go with the flow. I think there's a reason why your brother bought it for you. I think there's a reason why, you're sitting here talking about it.
Yeah, so you are flexible, you go with the flow, you think there's a reason behind it, why my brother bought this property, why I'm involved, and so you're very flexible.
And, why you're here talking to us about it, I think it's significant that you would bring it to us right now. And I feel very, I don't like that word flattered. It's like, what kind of word is that? But I feel very honored. I think that's a better word. I feel very honored to be in this group and to be amongst people that you would even consider as potential participants in the co-construction of this empathy culture, empathy center.
So you're feeling honored that you'd be included in just even the visioning of this center. So hearing some real appreciation for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how exciting, just for not just you, but for the empathy community, if you will. Empathy has become so central to me ever since I met you, Edwin, ever since I started the empathy circle facilitation training. Now, empathy is like everything for me. In my children's book that I just published, I went back through and added empathy, on like 3 different pages.
So empathy has become really central to you, and especially since you started doing the training, and you started adding it to your books and sounds like other areas of your life.
Yes, and so when it comes to this division of the course defining and the retreat empathy center, or however you want to name these things, I don't really see it as a division. I really see it as all one, because I'm embedded in this notion of what is relational empathy. And that's kind of how I'm living and breathing empathy, is that relational part, which is somewhat of a mystery to me. And of course, that's part of empathy wherever I'm involved.
So you don't see it as one thing or the other. It's all together. It's all around empathy, and you're just seeing it wherever you're involved. You're working on relational empathy. It's all sort of a whole, maybe a wholeness.
Right. And I do believe that empathy is the foundation of change. And in terms of the way of being, I think when it is our way of being, at least, like, let's say 80% of the time, maybe 90% of the time, our conscious beingness, I think there's a certain amount of inner peace and happiness, and almost like, I don't want to use this word, but I can't think of another word. It's almost divine. And I've used the word magical before, and you didn't really like that word too much, Edwin. Yeah, I think it's important.
Yeah, it's empathy is important. If it can be like 80% of your consciousness, it's actually sort of magical. It's divine. And you thought that I didn't like the term magical. So.
Yeah, so thank you, Edwin. Thank you for being you, and thank you for dedicating your life for something that's so needed in this world.
Yes, I'm hearing some real gratitude for me being me and dedicated to this topic of empathy, this value of empathy, which you see is really needed in the world.
Yeah, and everyone here, taking time off from your busy lives to be here, to participate in this. I mean, it's such an honor to be in your presence, and it means a lot to me as a person who's on a journey to be better and to see a better world. So I feel fully heard. Thank you.
I was just hearing a lot of gratitude for everyone here for taking time and working on this to make a better world. Yeah. So thanks. I'll speak to Lou.
Okay.
Yeah, something that was coming up for me was sort of a sense of anxiety, like, oh my God, this thing that I'm working on. This came out of the blue, right? It's like this thing for the retreat center. It was like, a call from my brother and said, hey, I bought a monastery, do you want to manage it? So anyway, I feel like anxiety about it. It's like, this is like, oh, this is just kind of really upsetting or changing the space that I'm in,
Yeah, so you're feeling a lot of anxiety and a lot of upset because this thing that your brother did of buying the center and saying, here, I want you to do something with this as a way of supporting you. It's really thrown a monkey wrench into your life. It's added a big element that is disrupting your normal course of activity. And so you're just feeling a lot of anxiety about it.
Yeah. So I don't think he bought it for me, or it's like, this is like, hey, Edwin, this is for him, right? This is something that he does because he's interested in a retreat center. So it's not like he's doing this for me. I don't want it to be seen as, hey, this is, yeah. So I think you need that clarity. And we're still sort of negotiating what is the relationship, but I'm getting paid for it. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, so you're clarifying that he didn't buy it for you. but and that you are still in the process of working out what your relationship with him is around the center, and that the work that you are doing on it now, he is paying you for, so that is what that helps define some aspect of it.
Yeah. Because doing this empathy stuff, don't go into the empathy work if you want to, make a living, unless you're like doing therapy like Violetta. So, because I mean, I would be in absolute poverty if I didn't have Social Security. So, but some opportunity to get, paid for doing some of this work is kind of helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're warning people that it's not easy to make a living doing empathy work unless you're maybe a therapist, and that, yeah, that you'd be in big trouble financially if you didn't have Social Security, and you're very happy to to support you in the work that you're doing, and you're very happy actually to be being paid by your brother for the work that you're doing.
Yeah, and the other thing is for creating a retreat center, I think a definition is really important. It's just a matter of time, like how much time is there? Like, I really want to do this project. I think it's central. So if someone wants to take it over, Violetta, if you want to do the management of it, or work with Kara on that would be great. It's just that realistically, I don't think I have the bandwidth, the time at this point. I really want to do it. It's like, I think this is critical because, yeah, but I just don't think I'll have the time, for a while, yeah.
Yeah, so you're feeling a big conflict because there's a part of you that definitely is very excited about having the center and wants to help create it or play a big role in creating it. And with the other things that you're doing, you really just don't have the bandwidth right now to do that. And so you feel in conflict, you feel kind of stuck. Yeah, is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And if someone else wants to do it, that would be great. Because I
And
don't think everybody realizes how much background work is involved. It's like you show up, you do your section, but all the organizing, scheduling everybody, it's like it takes a lot of bandwidth. Yeah.
Yeah, so you'd be very happy to have people step forward who want to help with doing I'm not clear, doing the stuff with the retreat center or doing the stuff with the organizing.
Defining the empathy work.
So doing work on the defining empathy course, all the organizational work that's involved in keeping this project going. You'd be very happy to have someone step up to take that on.
Yeah, so there's a lot of sort of detailed stuff I could talk about. This would take a lot of time in terms of the visioning. Well, the next session, I thought we could maybe just talk about the have an empathy circle, continuing this discussion, but also what is a way of being, because we've kind of jumped into the curriculum and maybe we did have some talks about what is a way of being, but not what is an empathic way of being. So I thought maybe we could talk about that at the next circle.
Yeah, so you don't want to get into the weeds right now of all the logistics of what it means to take on keeping this project organized. And what you were thinking was that we could get into that maybe next time, or talk about an empathic
way of
being.
Empathic
way of being. What is that? Yeah, because you didn't think we quite covered that. We covered way of being, but not empathic way of being.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's sort of central, right? It's like central to what we're doing is that way of being. And Violetta, she had also said, you do more the phenomenological, which I think is more of an exploration, and then sort of stuff merges out of that versus having this curriculum already preset. So.
Yeah, so you're just interested in exploring that and seeing what will come out of it.
Yeah, and in terms of the visioning, I'm sort of imagining doing a series of visioning. Not everybody has to show up every time, but it's like smaller groups, just kind of opening it to the broader community. People could kind of schedule coming into it. Not that, hey, every week we're got to do this visioning. It's more sort of sort of a drop in, just like we're doing with the Santa Barbara community. It's like not necessarily the same people every time, at least to begin with.
Yeah, so the idea behind the visioning circles on Fridays would be just to try to open the visioning process to the empathy community, and have people sign up and have them come, and it wouldn't be the same people every time, but it would be a channel for people in the empathy community to contribute their thoughts to the visioning of it.
Yeah, I feel fully heard. I could talk more, but
Okay.
I think that's my time.
Okay. And I know Colin has limited time, and I don't have a lot I want to say right now, so I'm happy to give my turn to Colin.
Thanks, Lou. Okay, so let me just speak for the last time. DJ, will you be my active listener? Is that okay?
Sure, great.
Okay. Where do I start? One thing that was coming up for me when Edwin was talking about the organizational side of the Defining Empathy project is that there's also the piece that he's doing himself, and that is on other oriented empathy. And if this project was to continue, if anyone would be interested in taking ownership of the other oriented empathy.
So I think you were just reviewing. Hey, Crystal. I think that you were just kind of reviewing, Colin, what has been said. So basically, Edwin was sharing about how he would really love it if somebody else kind of stepped in and took over for the defining empathy course, because it's a lot of logistics and things like that. But he's also doing, the envisioning, where it's more like a drop-in kind of thing. And I think that's just what you were reviewing. Is that correct, Colin? You were just kind of reiterating it.
That first part was correct, DJ, about the logistics. Edwin looking for someone else to see wondering if anyone else would be interested in taking over the logistics. But then it occurred to me that Edwin is also looking at the other oriented empathy piece. He's taken on that, just as I've taken on self-empathy and you've taken on relational empathy. And I'm wondering if this was to proceed, if anyone here would be interested, or someone outside of our group, in taking on the other oriented empathy piece too.
Okay, so I guess I'm having a hard time understanding the words that you're saying. So I think what you're saying is that Edwin has a part in the defining empathy course, right? And you're thinking that maybe because he's asking for someone else to take over the leadership of that, possibly, that he might also be looking for someone to take over that component that he's been contributing about. I thought it was the way of being, but it might be other empathy too. I think he has 3 or 4 different parts actually to the course definition. So am I closer now?
You're getting closer, DJ, but it's the other oriented empathy. It doesn't flow off the tongue very well, and I've got a cold, and so I can't enunciate my words very well. And okay. I just wanted to put that out there. I think everyone understands it now because I've said it a few times.
Okay, so I'm the only one who probably doesn't understand it. That's okay, because the other oriented empathy, that's a topic.
Yes, right? Exactly.
And you're thinking that maybe somebody else would want to take that on? Possibly.
Yeah, I just thought it was worth mentioning. That is, if the project was to continue at this time. And we've got a bit of momentum going, and so there's this part of me saying, like, if we drop it now, will we all come back together again in 6 months' time? And how long is it going to take to actually put the center to get it up and running? It could take years. I'm thinking worst case scenario, it could take a long time. Let me leave it at that first of all.
Thank you, Colin. So you're thinking that there's a momentum about the defining empathy course that's going on, and if we were to leave it and revisit it in 6 months, it might be very difficult to pick up, where we left off. And it could take a very long time in the visioning empathy process for the retreat. That could take years, actually.
And I hope it doesn't. I'm just thinking worst case scenario when I was saying that. I was exaggerating. But I was pleasantly surprised that everyone showed up today, pretty much. Everyone who could show up showed up. So people are still interested in this project, But can we do it without Edwin, or with Edwin, on the side? I don't know.
Okay, so I think I got that part. So you were exaggerating when you said a couple of years for the visioning empathy, and you're kind of questioning. Well, first you were surprised that everybody showed up, so there's obviously an interest that people are still interested in the defining empathy course, or the defining empathy course process that we're doing, and you're kind of questioning, and can we do it without Edwin, and can we do it without Edwin at all, or can we do it with Edwin maybe playing a role, like a lesser maybe leadership role, or something like that? You're just wondering, can we do it without him?
Yes, this is me wondering. Yes. Yes, I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Yeah, so Crystal, you probably picked it up a little bit, right? So are you willing to listen?
Yes,
okay.
Thank you, DJ.
Okay, sure. All right. Yeah, so I don't really think we can do it without Edwin, to be honest with you. But that doesn't mean we couldn't try. Right now it seems like Edwin's very central to the defining empathy course process. And I'm not really sure what would happen to defining an empathy course without him. Like, how would we even know that it's useful or part of what he's thinking?
Yeah, so I'm hearing you question our potential in proceeding with the defining empathy course without Edwin at the helm, and yet open to the possibility of how we could structure that in a way that includes him in the process, and perhaps it's democratic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, democratic's a nice word. Things should be democratic, absolutely. And I think that's what we're trying to do here is talk about the democratic process. And if it were left up to me and I had like one vote, my vote would be that it's okay to leave the defining empathy course, because we would be moving on to defining empathy for something more tangible and bigger, but it wouldn't be unrelated. Matter of fact, it could actually subsume the course.
So you're really seeing,
yeah.
Yeah, that makes, you're seeing the potential of the defining empathy concept, if you will, expanding collectively, in a consciousness almost, is what I'm hearing.
Right, and at the same time, Crystal, you might have missed, a lot of what came before, but basically, Edwin was asking us if we wanted to be part of this like visioning community, like envisioning what would an empathy center be like if he were to go full time with the retreat and kind of switch gears and give that his full focus. He's kind of inviting us in place of this course to do that. But most of the people here would probably vote maybe. I don't know. I can't speak for other people. But for me, I would vote yes, let's do it. I'm all ready.
Wow. So you're all in, I'm hearing you say, to the possibility of continuing this and expanding it into the larger community and working with Edwin in that capacity in each of us. And yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just end here because we're not doing a timer right now. I'm just ending. So I think I'll give you a chance to catch up there. Hopefully, Crystal.
Thank you, DJ. Thank you. Lou, would you be is there someone else that I should ask? Because I haven't.
Actually, yeah, I was a listener recently, so
Okay.
Oh.
yeah, Kara
Kara?
or yeah, Violetta would be good.
Kara? Saw you
Listening.
raise your hand. Woohoo. So as usual, I'm late to the party. And regrettably, given the topic of discussion, and also hopeful to how we can all continue to work together.
So I heard you are regrettably late to the party based on the conversation happening, but hopeful that things are moving forward anyway.
Yeah, and as each of you were talking, well, as I was hearing Colin talk and DJ speak, I was reminded of how our Constitution is a living document. And just the same is true, I think, for empathy as we evolve as humans. And we only are here for a short while, each of us, and how we can create something that lives on.
So I heard that while you were listening to DJ and Colin talk, what came to you was the Constitution, and it's a living document. And for you, it's very similar to what happens with empathy. We're only here for a short while, but we can create things that last.
Yeah, and how all of us are part of the process, and the excitement that Edwin entrusts each of you, Violetta, Colin, DJ, Lou, Kara, myself, with something that I know is so dear to his heart, is really powerful.
And then I heard that we are all part of the process. And for you, it's really exciting and powerful, the trust that Edwin extends to each of us to help create and maintain this vision.
Yeah, and it demonstrates his capacity to have power with versus power over. And that just warms my heart.
And I'm hearing gratitude that he knows how to work with and not just over. And I heard, well, I don't know that you said it, I heard that this is what this is, and it really warms your heart.
And, it speaks to the power of empathy and trust in the process and the potential of what we can all build together.
And it speaks for you to the power of empathy and the process that it goes through and what can be built with a group of people.
And I apologize again for being late. And my other meeting ran over. Thank you for the grace that you extend for my tardiness. Yeah.
And you again apologize for being late and appreciate the grace given for that behavior.
I feel fully heard. Thank you.
I will talk with Violetta.
Hello.
Hi. Oh, what is alive for me? I really resonated with everything that Crystal was saying, that this is the fact that so much opportunity has come to Edwin's plate and it is now overflowing. And our response is, yeah, right on, let's keep filling.
So you really resonated with Crystal's words, and specifically the fact that so many things come to Edwin and to his plate, it's overflowing, and the way we're responding is, let's put on some more.
Let's do this. And not just on his plate, but like,
Okay.
let's turn a plate into a table and let's feast.
Oh, let's turn his plate into a table and we can all feast.
Yeah, which I think speaks volumes to the culture of empathy that Edwin has been creating.
Yeah, which is quite the mark of the culture that Edwin has been creating.
Yeah.
Culture of
And
empathy.
Yeah. And I resonated with what DJ said. I don't know what is coming, but I'm in for it. So I'm here for it, whatever it ends up being.
So is your democratic vote, you're saying, I have no idea exactly what we're talking about, but I'm in.
To quote one of my favorite movies, I'm with you fellers.
I'm with you fellers. I have no idea which movie it is.
Oh, brother, we're out now. Some of my favorite movies.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm with you fellers. And that's really all I have to say.
All right. Lots of excitement and new beginnings there. Yeah. Okay.
Really heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Colin, are you still available to listen, or are you on your way out?
Yeah, this is too important to miss.
Okay.
So yes, I can listen.
Okay. I will start going back to Edwin's words because my name was specifically mentioned, and I just wanted to answer that call. I would love to take over. I don't think I can, and I'm not sure it's the greatest idea. I think I lost track. Maybe DJ mentioned it, or maybe Crystal talked about this becoming a process, maybe as Edwin is becoming more involved with this retreat center, with the empathy center. We'll use his naming. Maybe it will affect the process of defining empathy as well. Very in very simple terms, my plate is also pretty full. As I mentioned, I'm transitioning into the role of a neuropsychologist, which is a little different than therapist. So I'm definitely going to be busy, and I would not be able to. But part of me is wondering if anybody would be able to do the work that Edwin's doing at this point of time. Maybe. I definitely don't see myself in that role.
So you're talking to Edwin's invitation that you might take over the organization of the Defining Empathy project, and you'd love to do it, but you don't think you can do it. There's this conflict, and you're taking on new responsibilities in your own professional life as a neuropsychologist, and you have doubts as to whether Edwin is replaceable in his role.
Mm-hmm. But I'm also all in for the new venture. I'm excited to be part of those visionary groups.
Yes, well, yeah, you're saying again that you're excited about this, and that you would like to be part of the visionary group.
Oh, hi, Jenna. That's probably what I wanted to share. I would love to come back to the project whenever we're all ready. But maybe that's the moment also to join the group of people that are thankful to Edwin for all he's put into this, and kind of share my commitment that I will try to participate in this culture of empathy however I can at this point of life. So if he invites me to a visionary group, I will. If he invites me to something else, I probably will as well. So that's kind of the short of it.
Okay, so I'm hearing that you're very supportive of Edwin's work, and that you're showing flexibility in how you may be able to contribute to the empathy circle culture. Yeah, whenever that, and in the meantime, there's this uncertainty.
Exactly. Yes, I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Okay. Maybe I'll go to Jana. Would that make sense if I went to Jana? As active listener, let me do it. Is that okay, Jana? So just in brief, to repeat what we're talking about, it has to do with the opening of a retreat center for the potentially for the Empathy Circle movement in Santa Barbara, in California, and the amount of work, the huge amount of work that is demanding of Edwin, and his concern about whether he would be able to play any role in the Defining Empathy project at this moment. That's what we're talking about.
So you're sharing what we're talking about? I'm reflecting, yes? And you're sharing that Edwin has shared that he's involved in setting up this retreat center that he had shown us before, this amazing place. And it's taking up so much of his time that he's not sure that he can continue with this Defining Empathy project.
Right. I do. I don't know all of the behind the scenes work that Edwin is doing, but I can imagine that there's a lot of it that's going on, and I think it would be a lot of responsibility for any one person. You know, I know that I'm not that person. Based on my schedule, you know, partly based on my schedule, my trip to Nepal in a couple of months. So I know I wasn't invited to organize, but I'm just, I guess, volunteering.
So you're saying that it must be a huge amount of work, you imagine, for Edwin to take on, and that you don't have the time to contribute to what he's doing very much because you're leaving for Nepal in a couple of months, even though you weren't necessarily invited to do anything, I'm thinking, or if I understood.
Right, yes, to take over the organizational piece, I just wanted to say that I'm not in a position to do that. I guess one of the things that's coming up for me right now that I find a bit exciting is that the whole empathy circle process, the process of empathic listening and reflecting, could really be incorporated into all stages of the planning and construction of this center, and so and really embedding it in the whole process, embedding it as a way of being, so that all of, you know, to avoid conflict, for example, and just to really embed the project from day one in empathy. That kind of gets me a bit excited.
So you find it exciting that this project is going to be developed or can be developed with empathic listening, and that would avoid conflict, or I'll add in parentheses my own, minimize conflict, and that gets you excited. That's exciting.
Right.
Empathy is a way of being.
Yes, as a way of being, managing the whole project with empathy as a core skill, you know, and how we might be able to brainstorm that. I think I'd like to be a part of something like that if that was what useful for Edwin. And
if there's an opportunity to brainstorm with Edwin about that, you would be excited to be part of that. I'm happy to be part of it.
Mm-hmm. And just to mention, you know, my trip to Nepal, I don't want to be changing the subject, but very briefly, in case anyone is curious, I do intend to do some work on empathy when I'm there. There's a couple of Nepalese people I've connected with, and so I plan on holding a couple of workshops when I'm there. And there's also an empathy cafe that this is a separate initiative, an empathy cafe in Nepal, who I want to who I've connected with through Facebook, and there may even be the opportunity to host an empathy circle there. So I'm not sure if they've had one, or maybe they have, but you know, there's I've got exciting things to be getting on with anyways, I suppose.
So I'm not sure I got all that, but you're going to Nepal to connect with some people, and there's going to be some empathy circle there, and you might have an opportunity to lead or facilitate an an empathy circle in Nepal, and I missed the part.
Right. Yeah, and maybe to host a few workshops on the topic of empathy, and also to visit a monastery when I'm there, and to do a course on transforming emotions about this monastery, and maybe there's some learnings there that I can bring back and share with the Empathy Circle movement.
You're also looking forward to visiting a monastery there, and maybe sharing something back that you learned about transforming emotions while you're in Nepal, and you might have an opportunity to host some workshops on empathy. And yeah, so you're looking forward to this trip to Nepal.
Yes, I'll leave it at that. I feel fully heard. Thank you.
But somebody has to listen to me. Who wants to listen to me? Lou, you want to listen to me? I don't know.
Sure.
Who hasn't gone so much? I don't know. Who needs to go more?
Sure. I'll go.
You go. I'm sorry I'm late and didn't let anybody know. As I have my dental appointments on Friday, so I come late to work, and so and then my boss is here, so I have to wait till he goes. So that's why I'm late. And my next one is February 3rd.
Yeah, so you're letting the group know that you're sorry that you're late, and the reasons why, the personal stuff that was what made you late. You wanted the group to understand that.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot this being recorded. Oh dear. So I don't know. Since I'm late, I really don't know what's going on. Are we doing a Defining Empathy series like planned? And if so, then I was going to suggest, since I can't facilitate on Friday because I'm at work, I could offer to do maybe a short video introducing projections, just the topic of projections in Blocks to Empathy. So if you and Crystal were okay with that, I would be happy to do that and to introduce projections that way, where I could get up and leave if I had to.
Yeah, so you're expressing a little bit of confusion about what we're actually talking about this morning because you came in late, and this session is normally about the Blocks to Empathy course, and so you're wondering, are we talking about that? And you wanted Crystal and I and the group to know that you wanted to do some work around blocks and projection, and that because of your work and your personal situation, you can't really come on Friday mornings, and so you were thinking about making a video, and you wanted to know if that was okay with Crystal and me.
Yeah, and it sounds really exciting what Edwin is doing with that incredible place that his brother got. And yeah, so I'll share exciting things. Larry and I have started an ethics and empathy circle, Conversations That Matter. I'll throw the link in the chat. And we started it on Sunday, and it was really precious. DJ and Crystal were there, and there were Larry and I and two others. And yeah, we're going to continue. It's 20 weeks. So there are 19 more weeks. And I'll pause there.
Yeah, so you're excited for the work that's happening with the Building Empathy Center with Edwin, and then you're also excited to let the group know that you've started an ethics and empathy circle that's on Sundays, and you're doing it for 20 weeks, and you're doing that with Larry from Florida, and you held the first one, and it went really well, so you're really excited about it.
Yeah, and the Foundation for Developing Compassion and Wisdom, they have a facilitator forum, and I'm a facilitator for FDCW. And Wendy just asked if I would like to do, with her help or with her co-facilitation, and a facilitator forum on empathy circles and universal education. So, so that's exactly what Larry and I are doing, and yeah. And it would be really fun to do something like that with Wendy, just one time, to introduce empathy circles to them, to the Compassion Wisdom Universal Education FDCW facilitators. And you don't need all that.
Yeah, so there's another group that you're part of, and the person there has invited you to do a presentation or a workshop for them or an empathy circle for them, and you love the idea. You're excited by the idea of exposing that group to this practice, and so you're looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's a combined practice of the empathy circle together with the 16 guidelines that are their practice, okay, or our practice, right, in the Foundation for Developing Compassion and Wisdom. So Larry and I have combined the two together, and this would be introducing empathy circles to those folks and also how we're doing it in a combined way.
Yeah, so that group has 16 principles that are part of their practice, and you and Larry are combining those and empathy circle practice together. And so that's sounds like you're excited about that evolution of doing that.
Yeah, and it's okay. I don't know how much time I have, but I don't have anything more to say right now.
Okay.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll go to DJ.
Thank you.
Yeah, so my thoughts about continuing the empathy course, the work on the empathy course. I do think that the opportunity that's presented itself with developing the center is time sensitive and an amazing opportunity. So I don't have any problem with suspending the work on the empathy course in order to give your full attention and your effort to that. I do think, I mean, I know a lot about it, and it is a lot of effort. So it doesn't surprise me that Edwin doesn't have the bandwidth for both. And priority-wise, I would say that doing the center is more important right now.
So you are sort of reinforcing that it would be very difficult for Edwin to do both. Doesn't really have the bandwidth for it because you're very familiar with what's going on with the retreat and the envisioning that you're already doing. And you do believe it's time sensitive, that the envisioning for the retreat center or the empathy center or bringing the culture of empathy together to communicate about what that all means, you think is time sensitive, and it would be okay with you. I think you said it would be okay with you to sort of suspend the defining empathy circle course process if that's the decision that's made.
Yeah, and I would say that, you know, if others want to continue the work, if others in the group want to continue the work, you know, that's fine. I'm really saying if Edwin wants to suspend his work on it, I certainly understand that. I think if others were going to continue with the work, I don't know, what do I think about that? Would I do that? I don't know, I might do that. I mean, my own bandwidth is challenged because I am participating with Edwin in doing this, and it could use more of my time than I am giving right now, but I have a lot of things on my plate. So I'm not sure bandwidth wise where I would put the priority. I probably would suspend my own work as well.
It really depends on other people, whether or not the defining empathy course process that we're all in and have been in and beginning the second module of, whether that continues or not. You're not sure about your own bandwidth. You actually want to, I think, give more to the envisioning for the retreat right now because it kind of needs it. And you're kind of feeling that maybe you can't continue with the course. But it's really up to other individuals what they do.
Yeah. And there is still that little part of me that I mentioned earlier that did the work that I did on blocks and would be, and it's curious to hear to present it and have other people give me feedback on it. So I do have some conflict there with wanting to continue some and recognizing that I may not be able to do that.
So you are reiterating what you mentioned earlier when you were speaking about how you're really excited and really want to do your presentation on blocks because you didn't get a chance to do that. And you have been doing some work on it, and you don't really like that word blocks, but that was the topic you were working on. And it is something that you don't necessarily want to leave right now. So you're a little bit conflicted.
Yeah. And the other thing that's present for me is just making a comment about the idea of people continuing with the work without Edwin being present and being part of it. And I think that my experience of working on the defining a culture of empathy, which I was part of a group that worked on that for a long time, and also on the empathy training, is that this topic, empathy, and is so rich. There's so much to it, and it's so rich that it's very easy for it to drift in all different kinds of directions. And for that reason, who's involved and the work that they're doing together is important. And so if the results of the work is going to be connected to Edwin and the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy, there is a danger that if a group goes off and does the work on their own, that it will drift somewhere. And I guess that's not a danger. I mean, I'm thinking about it as I'm saying this. I was thinking that it's a danger you could wind off somewhere that, Edwin doesn't find useful or doesn't fit or something like that. That probably wouldn't happen. And even if it did happen, okay, so what? But the people who are involved just need to be conscious of that, I think.
You have a lot of experience working with different facets of defining empathy, and you've been involved for a while. And you just want to put it out there for everyone that there is a particular kind of possibility that whatever we do together as a group without Edwin could kind of drift into, outer space or whatever, and never really come back to, contributing to the culture of empathy, as Edwin is sort of the umbrella of in its design. But then again, you said, that probably won't happen. There is some concern. I hear you saying that without Edwin as our leader, the defining empathy course might just kind of fizzle or might not really have the impact that it could have. But I hear that you're kind of torn a little bit too, that you kind of want to stick with the defining empathy course and maybe finish it. But, we're all kind of in that same boat. I think you're saying we're all trying to make this decision right now, and everybody has to make it for themselves.
Yeah, so just a little clarification. Yeah, I mean, that was mostly accurate, but a little clarification. I am saying that I think it probably will drift, but maybe that's okay. Like, it won't matter. I am saying that I actually don't think if a group continued, I don't know that I would continue with it. And then just because I have a lot of other stuff on my plate and I want to be able to give time to developing the center. And then the third thought, which is new, is if I were going to be part of a group that was going to continue, I would probably want to arrange some kind of little check-in points with Edwin. So he would not be part of the group, but occasionally have a meeting where, here's a summary of what we are thinking. And I would probably do that just to get some comfort about where the drift is happening.
So for clarification purposes, you also have limited bandwidth, and you are committed already to the envisioning of the retreat, and you probably would continue with that and not continue with the defining empathy course process without Edwin if that were to happen, and then it would drift most likely. And so you have this suggestion that maybe Edwin could check in if the defining empathy course project does continue, and that way he would kind of keep a pulse on what's going on, and the group would also feel like they're not going to drift. Is that closer?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, thank you, DJ. I feel very heard.
Okay, thank you.
We have about 17 minutes left. I thought maybe we could just open it to, open discussion, just jump in. Is that okay if we do that, everyone? And yeah, I guess I wanted to get a temperature check. So I was going to suggest that for next week, we do the topic of what does an empathic way of being mean to you, because we haven't really looked at that just from a discussion area. And that's really the center core of the defining empathy. And it can also gives us a week to think about everything that's happened today. So you can bring all, any new sort of thoughts and ideas to that. So would that work for people? Can I get a thumbs up or thumbs down for next week, next Friday?
What are we doing next Friday? I'm sorry.
It would be an empathy circle. We did an empathy circle today, just kind of checking in with each other. And, I was kind of just sharing that I can't continue with the project because I got so much to do with the retreat center, but it's all totally overlapping. The retreat center wanted to develop an empathic way of being in the retreat center. So, the definition is totally overlapping with there, but it's just a matter of the time to focus on developing the course, which we could hold at the center once the center gets up and running, right? Because that would be one of the great courses to hold there. And so that was the topic today, was an empathy circle to connect. And next week we do an empathy circle on what does empathy as a way of being mean to you. And then you can also follow up with any thoughts from today, and everybody got a thumbs up. So yeah, that was it. In terms of continuing, if someone wants to sort of organize it, you could just have a few sessions, where Colin would present self-empathy, Violetta imaginative empathy, Lou, you want to do your version of the blocks, and then you could have, Crystal and Jana maybe add some section to the block. So that's another option, just kind of continue, record those. You don't have to go through the whole session, just have a sense of completion. But I just want to throw those options out as well. So I don't know, take it wherever. Anybody want to say anything? Thoughts? Just jump in.
Yeah.
Just to the point on.
Okay, go ahead, Colin.
All right, thanks, DJ. Very, very briefly, you kind of making the loose point in terms of you keeping us on course and acting as this kind of I don't know, captain at the helm. I don't know. I'm in a ship at the moment on a rough seas, but just keeping us focused on the way of being, for example, on that paper, which is a brilliant paper, and having this common thread of Roger's way of being through all of the project. You're reminding us again of how we need someone to remind us of these things, or to have some kind of common thread through the project, and it's as good a one as any that I've come across. So I'm all in for next week.
Okay, so I think it's just my opinion, and I might change my mind by next week, but this is just my opinion right now. I have a lot of experience with curriculum design, and I think so does Kara, right? And you also have project management experience, Kara, which I don't really want, but that's fine. So I actually think that with Lou doing his blocks that he missed, and Crystal and Jana and being together with the blocks and, you know, I mean, Violetta adding whatever you want to add and me adding, everybody just adding whatever it is that they really think they need to add. Okay. And then we just kind of say, okay, we're done. We're done. I mean, we already spent a great deal of time on it. And I think we could produce something if Kara's willing to work with me and other people, of course, could contribute, but to sort of like put together a curriculum as we have it so far. And of course, Edwin, you know, participating in that and just saying, okay, we're ready to move on. And if Lou's like, well, I don't really want to be part of this particular envisioning group, you know, that would be sad, Lou. Yeah, it would be sad. But of course, everybody has their free will, right? So I don't really know how this group could be redefined, but I'm willing to be a part of helping the redefining of it. But I don't really see myself participating in a empathy defining course process group without Edwin, you know, without him at all. That's it. That's all I have.
I'm with you, fellers.
What'd you say?
I'm with you, fellers. If we want to compile what we have and present it to Edwin so that he can tuck it away until he's ready to deal with it, or be like, cool, can you relook at this? I'm down to do that as well. If we want to just put a pin in it and I'll come back in a couple of months, I'm good with that. I'm with you, fellers. It's unhelpful, but there it is.
I'll say I like the idea of because this is, you know, because people were coming together to begin work again, and people have feelings about that, desires, or maybe bits of unfinished business around it, that having a session where people have an opportunity to talk about whatever little bits they have left that they want to say before we stop working on it. I think that's a good idea. And maybe it would take 2 sessions. Maybe it couldn't happen in 1 session, but maybe 2 sessions. I would make an effort to be part of that, to participate in that, because I think having some closure is a good thing, would be a good thing.
If I may just ask a clarification question. So do I hear correctly that DJ and Kara both committed to kind of compiling where we're at before or after we meet again after next week to just present, discuss, and kind of leave it at that, and then have that draft for Edwin to look at, come back to, file away for whenever those great courses will be taught at the Empathy Castle, Empathy Monastery. And then separately, Edwin in 2 weeks is starting those visionary groups. Am I making sense? Is that, am I right hearing that commitment from DJ and Kara? Okay.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that my idea was after Lou and whomever, everybody, after everybody has done that missing part. I think we all have missing parts to our role, you know, and I think next week doing the way of being is perfect. I think that's perfect. I think it gives time to kind of let this all settle. And then who knows, it might take another 2 weeks past that. I don't know if that fits into Edwin's timeline or not. Would that be enough time or too much time? Could we have 2 or 3 weeks? for this?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Like next week, we do the visioning and then have 1 or 2 meetings after that for kind of schedule what for closing kind of topics. Like I know, Lou, you want to do your part, and Violetta, you had some more. So kind of scheduling those 2 sessions, like 1 or 2 sessions around that for presenting what you have. And we record everything too. So that would be, go up to 3 sessions then. And that kind of fits with the visioning. Like I'm trying to do the visioning with the Santa Barbara community first, and we're doing those on Mondays now. And then once they kind of have connected with the Santa Barbara community, and then I wanted to kind of open it to the, the broader community. So, 3 weeks, 4 weeks out kind of works for that. So, and we also have the training starting. That's the other thing is doing this and the training, because I do a lot of the background work for the training, and it's just that's really time consuming too. So we have the training starting on the 21st, the next cohort. So that's, yeah.
I'll be in the training.
Yay. Hope everybody joins the training. Yeah.
When is that training starting, Edwin?
21st.
Thanks.
Saturday. And it's 6 weeks this time, not 5.
Right.
We're adding an extra session. Okay, seems like we've kind of come to a closing. Have a bit of quiet space here. So next week we continue with that topic of what is the way of being, empathic way of being for you. And then the session after, you can kind of think, who's ready to present there, and how much time do you need, so we can arrange, maybe it's just an hour, Lou, and then Violetta, you need an hour. It could be done in one time or something like that, kind of. And then do we need a second session after that? So kind of maybe think of the amount of time you need, and then we can, and then we can have 1 or 2 more sessions after that. So I could go up to 3 more in this time slot.
And don't forget, Jana mentioned her video.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I mean. It's like, and Crystal and Jana, whoever, and Colin, whatever you're.
Me too. Yeah, me
And
too.
you too for the, so
Yeah.
we'll have like 4 hours for those seconds. So kind of figure how much time you need. We could maybe we could schedule that in, or whoever. Yeah.
I probably don't need more than an hour for what I would be doing.
Okay. Anyone else have a time? We can bring it up next time.
Yeah, I would just need a half an hour.
Okay.
I
Writing
could
it
probably
down.
do half an hour too if we don't do the exercises. Which,
Okay.
So, yeah, that's true. That's good.
I'm personally going to need to do more prep work maybe than some of the others, because I came to the self-empathy piece late. So I'm not sure what my contribution will be, but I'd like to make some contribution, maybe a half hour, but not, at the end, whatever the last week is.
Okay. Oh, great. So we've got Lou 1 hour, DJ half an hour, Violetta about a half an hour, Colin half an hour. So
Jana's video.
Jana, yeah, great.
And then Crystal, did you have more that you wanted to contribute?
Well, Lou and I are a work in progress, so I'd like to have a conversation with him and with Edwin. And I really see the opportunity to continue as we have been. Edwin has done a brilliant job in terms of setting up the structure for everyone. And it really can be a democratic-led organization where we all come and participate equally. And there's not anyone with power over, but we all have power with. And I think this also opens the door for other people to come in who perhaps haven't had an opportunity to share their way of being. There are some great members like Dwayne, Graham, who I'd like to invite to the table. And so if we were to continue with Edwin's structure that we had previously, I think that, you know, that's a possibility that I'm pondering. But again, this is all new information. So I'd like some time to process it before responding further.
Yeah, and you might have missed, Crystal, that Edwin's really looking for someone to administrate it. You know, so like all the background work, which is a lot of effort, you know, the sending of the emails, of organizing the notes and preparing the future programs and everything. So he needs somebody to step in to do all that. And if you're volunteering to do that, that's fantastic. But I still think I would not participate in that with you. I just wouldn't. I would choose not to. And I would like to have closure in this. I would like this to be a beginning, middle, and end. And then you could start something that's just like it, but maybe with new people. That makes sense?
I have to go. Thank you,
Okay.
guys. I'll see you next Friday.
Okay, to be
There's more.
continued next week. Want to keep on time. So it's so great to see everyone. I mean, just so fulfilling just to, you know, just to have everyone's presence here. It's just love it. So
Bye, everyone.
see you next week. We're right on time, and we'll just continue the conversation there. And we've got our basic time slots, and you can add to that too. It's on the, you can see under next steps. It's right there at that. I'm going to click on that link. Those are the notes, so you can see the next step section. Alrighty.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Best everyone. Bye. Bye.